Hello, I'm Malcolm Gallagher of BizVision. It's likely that after the pandemic, you're going to need a little bit of help in finding and recruiting the right talent. And it's also likely that you'll be looking overseas for that talent. Well, that can bring you into conflict with the UK immigration laws. You're likely to need a little bit of expert help. So over the course of a few videos, I'm delighted to bring you an interview with Migrate UK's Managing Director, Jonathan Beech. Tell me, Jonathan, about Migrate and about your team, what you do and why is it so important to businesses?
Well, Migrate was started in 2004. I started it after working in the city. I was working before that in the Home Office itself from 1995. And it's what we do, in essence, is we provide legal advice to those who want to come to the UK and those who want to stay. So people who would normally need a visa for joining family, for coming over to start a business, students, those with UK ancestry. And we also help businesses, so we can help with making sure they're compliant with immigration rules with regards to sponsoring migrants, getting a license, and also auditing to make sure they're keeping the right paperwork and reporting the right things at the right time. It's always been important, no more than now, with the sheer amount of changes in the policy on the horizon from January 2021. Really, it's down to two things. It's a very, very complex and ever-changing area of law. There are about 10,000 pages of guidance out there which are hopefully going to be rewritten soon as per the Law Commission's recommendation. But at the moment what we're doing is we're looking at protecting individuals and employers. And the main thing is that if you get it wrong, you could be looking at losing thousands of pounds of Home Office fees alone, and having to reapply. And furthermore, if you do get it wrong, then you could have the issue of being barred from the UK, from having your leave removed, which could split you up from family members for 6 to 12 months. And for businesses, again, you've got the real big expense. But if employers get it wrong, whether they get it wrong for doing things on purpose or whether they just don't understand, then of course CEOs of business could be looking at getting fined or imprisoned for hiring the wrong people, the wrong paperwork. But the fines are one thing, the reputation is another. So if organisations don't understand and get things wrong, their reputation could be on the line.
Wow. Yeah. So what impact do you think that coronavirus will have on the immigration changes? I know we're 2021, but that's not far away, is it?
No, it's a good question. In fact, it's very timely because the Home Office came out with some new guidance on this last night that we've been feeding through to clients in the early hours. I think at the moment the Home Office are looking at just a very short-term view of releasing this information. They're looking really at the moment of protecting people who are stuck in the UK, who can't travel at all, who can't leave the UK, and who have got leave expiring. And this is really affecting a lot of students, master's students who have got leave expiring very shortly, people who've come here as visitors, people who need to change immigration status but normally need to leave and come back in. They've been in a no man's land because there's nothing they can really apply for. So the Home Office have released some more guidance which hopefully will protect people until the end of May, but they do need to get in touch with the Home Office to let them know that they are needing to stay here and giving their details and reasons for why they need to stay. But this really is going to be updated maybe on a quarterly basis. In the long term, it's very difficult to say whether the coronavirus will have a long-term effect on policy, especially from 2021, and whether it will change the reliance on those key worker jobs in the UK, because the Home Office have made it explicitly clear to the skill levels and the salary levels of staff that will need to be met from 2021. So we're just going to have to see, unfortunately, what the knock-on effect of this is in the next 2 to 3 months.
So those particular sectors such as hospitality and care homes especially, it's hard for them to meet the minimum salary.
It is. It's two things. It's minimum salary and minimum skill level. The salary at the moment is set very high. Generally speaking, if you need to come in and take a vacancy in the UK, it needs to be paying at least £30,000 or what we call the going rate for the job. Each job in the UK has a code attached, and the code will dictate what the minimum salary level is. So it's normally going to be either £30,000 or the going rate for that job, whichever is the higher. Now, care workers, for example, there's very few, unfortunately, who are going to be paid that level. Secondly, we're looking at skill levels. The Home Office are obsessed with lower skilled, lower paid jobs in the UK. And of course, at the moment, care workers are probably seen as the most skilled you can get, especially, and of course, everyone with the NHS. It brings home the importance of these key services. But at the moment, apart from nurses and doctors are seen to be in a shortage skill, and that will continue for the foreseeable future. But from 2021, when Europeans need to have sponsorship, so work permits to come into the UK, they are looking at lowering the skill level and lowering the salary threshold slightly. But it will still not cater for all the care workers. Senior care workers, it might well do if they meet the minimum earnings of, say, £25,600 per year for experienced workers, or 30% less for those who are deemed to be new entrants, so below the age of 26, or those who are switching status from being a student into the UK to being a skilled worker. So that equates to just under £18,000. But it's senior care workers, and this is going to be a grey area. It's like, what would constitute a senior care worker? 5 years of experience, for example. So it is a mixture of both, and this is where the UK currently has an issue.
Yeah, I've got a client in India, which I'm speaking to later, who's been compiling a database of Indian qualified care workers that want to come to the UK to work, and there are actually thousands of them. But of course, they're all worried about the visa. They want to come, they've got the experience, but it's a bit muddied.
It is, and the Migration Advisory Committee, who provide all the guidance and do all the research for the Home Office, will be looking at this hopefully more regularly than they have done. It has been up until late. It's been 2 years, up to October. It's been about 2 years since the shortage occupation list was looked at and updated, and I believe that they're going to be taking more control now and making decisions over what skills and what levels are required in the UK, and hopefully they can speak to businesses and the government and make quick decisions on what is required. Whether the current pandemic will make a difference to policy, like I said before, we don't know yet, but hopefully the government and the public can see the sheer importance of having key workers in the UK, and can fund that in the correct way. And hopefully, yes, as long as people have got the required level of English, they can come into the UK and perform these jobs.
Yes, I understand. Yeah. You're also very specialist. Lots of law firms that we work with around the country have all got immigration partners or specialists and everything like that. What's the difference that Migrate offers compared to what they call full service law firms?
I think we see that as actually as an advantage. We're dealing with just one specialism. We do try and get across through our work and through marketing that we care about what we do and we do it well. And we have got that knowledge and experience. Immigration is such an emotive subject, especially for people who are in abusive relationships. So we deal with people who are coming to the UK and staying in the UK for cancer treatment. It's very, very personal. So we really do, and I'm not saying that full service firms don't, but what we do portray and what we can, and we do this a lot through social media as well, is just portray how we care for the full life cycle of having a client in the UK, not just for one application process, but for dealing it from start to all the way to when they could eventually possibly get British nationality. So we're always there and offering that service. Even when they don't expect us to contact them, we will do that. I mean, I've worked in a large service firm myself, and it was certainly a good place for corporate learning. But unfortunately, with some of them, you can find that a lot of desks and teams who are working only about maybe 10 meters away don't even know what you do, or don't know that you exist. And in fact, recently we've had a meeting at our office with a larger law firm who are looking at outsourcing their immigration services because they deal with only a small spectrum. So they deal with just the business side of things, whereas we can deal with pretty much the full extent of UK immigration law apart from detention and asylum. So they're looking at how we can help.
Yeah, I can see more clearly now, just after a few minutes of conversation with you, how that you go deep and others may go a mile wide and an inch.
Very possibly. I mean, there are some very, very good ones out there, and it is very, very competitive. But I suppose it also helps that when you've been doing the job for 25 years and trying to understand what your clients need and what they want, and enjoying what you do, you want to go that extra mile.
Right. So let's assume that you're a typical business person in hospitality, care home, whatever it may be that's impacted. Where do you think the grey areas are in the new rules?
The grey areas will be, we're looking at what will constitute the skill level of a person who they want to hire. So we are really looking at from 2021 when the new immigration policy will come into force. So just to summarise what that means, is with Europeans needing to have sponsorship and needing to get a visa to come to the UK for long-term purposes from January 2021, so the first one's coming in, and everyone else outside of Europe as well, the rules mean that they are lowering the skill level from what we call RFQ level 6, which is kind of a graduate entry-level role. So although you don't need a degree, they would expect it for that level of role. They're dropping it from that to RFQ level 3, which is more kind of a A-level standard kind of role. But with that, the grey areas come into the job description. So the government are very strict on what constitutes a skilled job description. So everything you do in the UK for your job needs to be at the minimum level. If any bullet point, even if it's 1% of your daily routine, is below that level, then the employer and the individual could be in trouble. So the grey area comes to exactly how you can have a genuine vacancy in the UK and make sure that it matches the rather muddy government guidelines on that particular job. And the other grey areas will be really regarding policy in the future. If you need to extend that person's stay, you need to make sure that that person is still complying with the rules 1, 2, 3, or maybe 5 years further down the line. So it's a question of not really having any direct guarantees, but you also need to understand the salaries that need to be paid, whether you can accept accommodation as part of a salary package, guaranteed bonuses. It is that confusion at the moment, but mostly it comes down to being clear as far as you can on the duties and whether that matches the government's expectations.
Thank you, Jonathan. The knowledge of himself and his team is terrific, so please delve deeper into their expertise and watch video 2.